What makes an avoidant ghost? You, even when he cares, is a mystery wrapped in the enigma of human connection. Today, we explore the peculiar and often contradictory behaviors of avoidantly attached individuals, those who, despite the care they feel, seem to vanish like mist when intimacy deepens. Imagine, if you will, a man whose heart is a fortress, one built with years of carefully constructed defenses, designed to protect him from the vulnerabilities that intimacy inevitably brings. Yet beneath that cool, calculated exterior lies a tender, conflicted soul. I once knew a gentleman, let's call him James, whose presence was as reassuring as a warm summer's day. Yet at moments when closeness beckoned, he would retreat into silence, leaving his partner puzzled and aching for his return. His behavior, as baffling as it might seem, is not born of indifference but of a profound inner conflict, the desire for connection warring with the instinct to preserve his freedom. To understand this paradox, we must delve into the roots of avoidant attachment. In early childhood, the avoidant individual learns that expressing deep emotions can lead to unpredictability. When a child reaches out for comfort and receives a response that is at best lukewarm, or at worst dismissive, that child gradually internalizes a belief that emotional needs are best met alone. Over time, this adaptive mechanism, once a shield in a turbulent world, becomes an obstacle in adulthood. James, for example, discovered early on that vulnerability invited uncertainty. His caregivers, though not unkind, were unable to consistently mirror his emotional world, so he learned to rely on himself rather than risk being overwhelmed by the unpredictable responses of others. Now, one might wonder, if he cares, why does he choose to ghost the very person he loves? The answer lies in the paradox of attachment. An avoidant does care deeply, but his method of caring is filtered through a lens of self-preservation. When his partner begins to lean in, seeking reassurance, his instinct is to pull back. This withdrawal is not a rejection of love, but rather a desperate attempt to maintain a delicate balance between intimacy and independence. In his mind, closeness must always be tempered with the freedom to roam, to think, to be unencumbered by the chains of expectation. Consider the experience of a friend of mine, Edward, whose relationships often oscillated between fervent passion and abrupt silence. Edward's romantic endeavors were marked by moments of profound tenderness, unexpected gestures, gentle words, and soft smiles that spoke of care and commitment. Yet, as the relationship grew, so too did his anxiety about losing himself. Like a tightrope walker wary of the heights, he would retreat into the shadows whenever his partner's love threatened to consume him entirely. His actions, seemingly capricious, were in fact a cautious dance, a dance designed to preserve his autonomy while still permitting the occasional touch of affection. So what triggers an avoidant to ghost, even when he truly cares? It is the overwhelming force of emotional exposure. As his partner grows closer, the risk of vulnerability intensifies. The very traits that make him capable and reliable, his self-sufficiency, his calm in crisis, his steady resolve, become the instruments of his withdrawal. In the safety of solitude, he feels in control. In the throes of closeness, he fears the loss of that control. It is akin to an artist who, when faced with the blank canvas of deep intimacy, hesitates to make the first stroke, for he dreads that the image that emerges may not capture the full spectrum of his inner self. I recall a conversation with a client, Thomas, who described his behavior in relationships as being like a ship that veers away from the shore when it senses a storm. "I want to be near you," he confessed, "but when I get too close, I feel the urge to set sail, to find refuge in the vast ocean of my own solitude." His words, delivered with a mix of wistfulness and resignation, captured the essence of avoidant behavior. Thomas's heart was not absent from the equation. Rather, it was ensnared by a conflicting desire to be loved, yet not to be consumed by love. How, then, can one navigate this seemingly contradictory landscape? The first step is to acknowledge the intrinsic truth. An avoidant's ghosting is not necessarily a reflection of his lack of care. It is, instead, a manifestation of his inner turmoil, a silent scream for the space he believes he needs to remain whole. When you sense that your avoidant partner is retreating, consider that his withdrawal may be a protective measure, not a punitive one. Understanding this can be both a solace and a guide, steering you towards a more compassionate perspective. Yet, compassion alone is not enough. It is imperative to foster communication that honors both your need for closeness and his need for space. Consider establishing what might be termed emotional check-ins, regular, gentle conversations that allow both parties to express their feelings without overwhelming one another. For instance, rather than demanding immediate reassurance when he withdraws, you might say, "I miss your warmth, and I'd love to share a moment together when you're ready." This kind of language does not impose an ultimatum. It merely opens the door for connection on his terms, while still validating your own emotional needs. It is also beneficial to cultivate an environment where vulnerability is celebrated rather than feared. For an avoidant individual, the act of opening up can feel like stepping into a spotlight that exposes every flaw. Encourage him to express his thoughts in ways that feel safe, perhaps through writing or in the quiet moments of a shared walk, where words flow naturally and without judgment. Over time, these small acts of vulnerability can build a bridge between two hearts, one that supports both the yearning for connection and the desire for independence. In my own journey, I have come to appreciate the delicate equilibrium that exists in healthy relationships. Picture, if you will, a magnificent tree, its roots deeply anchored in the earth, yet its branches stretching out toward the sky. The tree embodies both stability and growth, a perfect metaphor for a relationship where each partner remains true to their individual essence, while also nourishing the bond between them. An avoidant, much like that sturdy tree, must learn to balance his need for solitude with the beauty of shared existence. One of the keys to achieving this balance is to reframe your perspective on his withdrawal. Instead of viewing his need for space as a rejection, consider it a chance for both of you to renew your individual strengths. His time alone is not a measure of his love for you, but rather an opportunity for introspection, a moment to gather his thoughts, recharge his spirit, and return to the relationship with a clearer mind. This, in turn, can encourage you to pursue your own passions, creating a dynamic where both partners thrive independently, yet come together to form something greater than the sum of its parts. Furthermore, it is essential to recognize that change is a gradual process. The avoidant attachment style is deeply rooted in early experiences, forged in moments when vulnerability was met with uncertainty. Healing such a pattern does not happen overnight. It requires patience, understanding, and a willingness to explore the recesses of one's past. I have witnessed many individuals, like Edward and Thomas, who have embarked on this journey of self-discovery, learning to unlearn the behaviors that once served as a shield, and instead, embracing the liberating act of genuine connection. In closing, allow me to leave you with this thought. Love, in its truest form, is not a zero-sum game where the scales of intimacy must always tip in favor of one need over the other. Rather, it is a delicate dance, a rhythmic interplay between closeness and freedom, vulnerability and strength. As you navigate your relationships, take heart in knowing that every moment of withdrawal is also a moment of potential return. every pause an invitation to reflect, and every challenge a stepping stone toward a more secure and fulfilling connection. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of what makes an avoidant ghost you, even when he cares. May these reflections inspire you to see beyond the initial retreat, to embrace the intricate balance of human connection, and to celebrate the journey towards a love that honors both the desire for intimacy and the need for freedom.
If you believe this video might help someone dear to you, share it with them. A small gesture on your part could mean the world to a friend in need.